Wow, Jesse, welcome, welcome. Haven't seen you in these parts for a while. Just going to wait a little bit longer, see if Greta's going to show up or not. How's your week been doing? Alright, I'll wait a couple more minutes and then we will get started. I have your thing here. We have Misu and then Greta's and stuff. So just let me know if the volume is or if it's all good. Just waiting for the check. Ayo, get that paycheck. Let's go. Volume's all Gucci. Let's get started then. Okay, so Greta, we are going to work on composition first because that is what's going to drive this piece into smithereens and make it look like heaven sent. First of all, I would say for these types of compositions where you have like very much like nature versus human kind of thing, we want to exaggerate the size of the geographical landscapes and stuff. So I'm gonna make this almost a little bit bigger, just like how you saw in like that reference photo of that other artist that you showed me. And then we're gonna shrink down our characters just a little bit. And one other reason why this doesn't work that well is because everything's way too centered. So you want to kind of shift it down just a little bit. So you can either do it like this, where the characters are a little bit lower, they're like less of a focus. Or other option, and I know you'll love me for this, is you put things in a little bit more of an angle. So you get the archway over here, an extremely, I don't know, bottom up view, whereas the characters are going to be a little bit smaller over here. So you can still see a lot more of the characters because they're in closer view, and we'll still be able to see the rock. So that's the other option, but for today let's just keep it a little bit simpler. Don't want to stress you out having to restart the whole thing. Other option is if you don't like this kind of situation, we are going to move your characters upwards more, so we'll see more of that reflection going on. And we'll push this maybe wider this way. Let's go just a little bit higher. I'm gonna merge these two so I don't have to keep going back and forth of them. Greta, you were trying on the wrong layer. I don't hate line work, it just makes it hard for me to move stuff around, Greta. Okay, if you love line work so much, here's what we'll do. We'll put these in a group together so I don't have to keep going back and forth to select them. And little did we know, Greta also has issues with drawing on the right layer. Ay, 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 ay. Just gonna cover that up for you a little bit. Shoop, shoop. Okay, that's out of the way. I'm also gonna smooth out these color transitions because it's just bothering me. You're gonna go over it again anyway, so I think I'll be fine. And I'm also gonna mess around with your lighting, so all this colors that I'm picking up or setting down is really gonna be moot point. Okay, so option one is we move things higher up, and then we'll have duplicate, flip vertical, and you can have like a little reflection going on over here like that in order to make the composition more interesting. Option two, I'm gonna duplicate this whole bitch over here. Delete. And we'll move everything down. And we get more of the sky. And you could take this opportunity to make shoop, shoop, shoop. Skew this baby a little bit. Shoop. Put it at an angle. I don't want to make it too straight. Being lower. Yeah, you could totally do that, and then in that case you'll get more opportunity to see more of the sky, and you can play around with like putting some galaxies in there. You could put, I don't know, some kind of weird ephemeral spirit thing if you wanted to. Like a mother figure or some kind of dead character as a ghost in the background watching over them. This is so funny. Okay. And because we moved everything down, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker up top, so it feels more like sky. Ooga booga. Yeah! So just like slight adjustments. You didn't have to restart the whole thing, but it starts to feel a little bit more grounded, the characters at least. Yeah, reason why we don't want the characters too big is because think about like the scale of the rock compared to the characters. It doesn't make much sense. Okay, so I would say you want to have the rock at least this much bigger, because if the character is going to sit down or stand up, they're going to be pretty big in comparison to that rock. I would say no bigger than this. So that way when she's standing up, she's not like basically the same size as the rock. And then let's somehow fill up this space up front here. That means you can consider let's doing some reflections, because this is supposedly water, correct? So there's definitely going to be a reflection. How do I mess with this though? Okay, something like that maybe. Same for the rock, also going to cast a reflection. It's not like an invisible object all of a sudden. Oh yeah. Zoom out. Okay, also like that. And then you see how the water really now looks like water. It's a reflective surface. Number two, let's talk about lighting and just general values of the picture. So I'm going to drop in a black and white layer so we can see just how our values are doing. It's a lot of midtones, and I'm assuming if you want something to kind of really pop out, you're gonna need like a little bit of some higher values here and there besides that moon, just so that this part is where your eyes kind of focus to. So I am going to make the water a little bit brighter than what it is right now, in the background at least. And I would suggest you don't be too afraid with your color saturation. I know you didn't want to go too saturated here because you're afraid like it draws attention away, but you could just go just a little bit like here. I'm not even here this yet. This over here would probably be where your characters would need to sit in order for the shadow value to really communicate. because everything over here is going to tend to look lighter in value, whereas over here is going to be darker in value. So set up the saturation, up the value, or decrease the value. Other option, we could do blue, but I think this purplish color might look better. I'm bringing some of that lighter value into this area because this is that kind of opening where the moonlight can shine through. Over here can stay darker because this stupid rock thing is blocking it. And you may or may not, if the reflection itself isn't really doing enough for the values in your opinion, you could totally go into your water layer and just make it a little bit warmer, because this rock thing is a warmer value. It's like a purple instead of that bluish color. So you can just add it in there a little bit, just so the shadow feels like it's matching it a little bit. In the case that this part of the water is so bright, I would probably not want to make the sky as bright, because you want the water to really shine off. So we're gonna start with, where the heck are those? Oh, okay. I would start off with like this darkish value first, and then we'll start going closer and closer to that kind of bluish value. Let's see. Let's do this bluish purple for the darkest value, because all your shadows are kind of this bluish purple color, and then we'll move towards more of a blue color. Let's do the opposite way instead. I'm a dumbass. Let's go warmer color over here because your light over here is warm. So the sky has to reflect that. So we'll go closer to purple. And we can always change your mind afterwards. If you really hate that idea, we can just change it real quick using our saturation tool. And then let me just get rid of this stuff here so we can see what we're working with. Now, our only issue right now is that now the rock looks too similar to the sky, so if we change it more towards that bluish color, this part we're gonna have to readjust. Okay. Alright, I know the sky looks really, really dark right now, but don't worry, we're gonna lighten it up. We're gonna add some highlights to our rock so everything looks fine. And then here's how you're gonna cheat to make that water really look low. Am I on the right layer? Maybe this is not the layer I want. Maybe this is the one I want. Maybe it's that one. Wrong layer so early. Wrong layer style, not the wrong layer just yet. If you do it this bright, then we definitely can't do too much in the sky, so we could tone it down just a little bit. Less of the sky is glowing, then you could totally go and have... Let's see. Boop. You could have yourselves a nice little Milky Way or something to kind of break up this empty space in the sky that you have. And of course you can take a look at some references for like the galaxies. They're like pretty colorful, so you can take this opportunity to kind of throw some other colors that you do like to use, Greta, because I know you love your blues, cyans, and purples. So this would be your chance to throw it in just a little bit. And then I think in the center of the galaxy is usually the brightest point, or behind it is. Let's see. Yeah, I believe behind the galaxy is usually the brightest part. I'll just use this color for now, and we'll bump it into one of these weird mixing layers. Something like that, maybe? Overlay. Let's go into brightness. I didn't want levels. Yeah, maybe something like that, and then just duplicate it if you want it brighter. Yeah. And you can totally adjust it just by erasing some parts away if you don't want this part of the sky to be so bright. And we're gonna bring back some of that sky color into the galaxy. That way, you know, it makes more sense. And then you can finish it all off real quick with some spicy stars. I know you have like that special star brush that you love, so make use of it, throw it all over the place. Just make sure you're kind of erasing away some parts where it feels like it's too even or symmetrical, because stars and galaxies are very much clusters. They do not follow any rules. They don't want to have like individual spacing. They want to be scattered as randomly as possible. And they're going to be lighter over here, because remember, if there's more light on the ground or whatever, your stars are not going to be able to show, compared to up here where it's super dark. Then you're going to really see the stars a lot more. Okay. And I just throw in a couple. You can throw some shooting stars if you really, really want, Greta. And shoot. See, more colors you can throw in there. Haha. Or maybe let's not do that one. Let's do this one. I don't know. You can play around with how you want to decorate the sky. Treasure planet, exactly. I think Greta definitely does love that whole like fantastical adventure vibe. So we're trying to get it closer for her. Let me group these up and call this back galaxy back lighting yo. I don't know what this is. This is twinkle twinkle. Twinkle tail. I keep getting so many recommendation reels to watch. What's it called? Sinbad, which I never watched as a kid, but the animation for the goddess looks really good, so I don't know if it's actually a good story or if it's just like a clickbait. And then I would probably just erase a little bit away of the galaxy here so it doesn't look like it's super in focus, it's more far away. Voila. Now let's add back some lighting to the rock itself so we can actually see the structure. So think about where the lighting is coming from. It's all backlit. Okay, so you've decided this one. So let me use a texture brush so we can have some fun. That means any side of the rock facing this moon is going to get some juicy lighting. So I don't want to make my highlights too perfect because a rock is in no way like a perfect form. It's actually very, very jagged, lots of crevices and everything. So I want to try to mimic that with the way I'm drawing the highlights. So lots of angle L shapes, a lot of weird V shapes that you'll see. Like, what is this? Some weird shit. And also don't go too bright with your highlight because this rock is technically still supposedly a darker value than everything else, so we won't go too crazy with that. Okay, and you'll see how the structure of the rock's kind of showing itself a little bit better now. And we can go even darker. Choose your darkest value, which is probably going to be this. Break up the structure just a little bit and group up your shadows. You never want to draw your shadows for these objects as like one individual piece. So like, I know when we're looking at an object, we might be thinking, oh, there's this part's the darkest, so I'm just going to put a shadow right here. But when you finished with like the whole part, it's going to end up looking really whack because you just have this random mark in the middle of nowhere, when in reality most shadows are in groups. So preferably you just want to make your shadows, group them up a little bit more. That way it feels a little bit more believable. And you can always just lighten it up in some edges. Granny the Witch. Let's see what that is. Let's educate ourselves today, y'all. Oh, I have seen this witch before. It's from Elden Ring, isn't it? But I just don't I don't play it, so I've never known that's actually her name. So, huh. She has such a cool design. I am not surprised there's so much fan art of her. Elden Ring brain rot. Let's go. Okay, so you see that I am choosing to put some shadows more on like the outer edges of the rock, and that's just because that's like the farthest away from the light source. So, and I do it on this side just because I want to kind of highlight the brightness of this side of the rock, which is why it would work. Now don't go too overboard. Obviously this rock's not going to have crazy shadows everywhere. And what I'll also do is I'm going to try to bring in some of these rocks to this front part of the composition, because you still have like a separation. If you didn't have this rock here, it feels very much like, oh, this is where rocks belong and this is where water belongs. But you want the whole piece to feel cohesive, like an entire story. So we want to bring in some elements from other parts of the picture into elsewhere. So when you put just a little bit of a rock here, it can help tie in the whole place for you. Just add back your little highlights. Don't have to be super bright because it is farther away. And one good thing about using a texture brush for like these sorts of things is it'll help you save a lot of time trying to figure out how to make it look like the object that you are trying to make it look like. because it'll help you add just a little bit of flavor. I feel like there's something on there. Oh, that's why. And then I might cast this shadow over here just because maybe this rock is like overlapping on this one. And you'll want to vary your highlights just a little bit. Alright, so maybe that's something how the rock might look like. Let's just add a couple of more texture edges and then I think it'll look something like a rock. And then just throw in some spots here and there. And here, let's just do a little preview of Bounce Light. This water is reflective enough that it's going to cast its own certain type of light. And since our water is this kind of bluish color, that means anything that hits this water and bounces onto the rock, we're going to cast just a little bit of that purple bluish shadow. So let's add that in there before we forget. And this will help you make your rock feel a lot. Should be dark. I think it depends. If you have a pond, yeah, technically, because like if you think about a pond, the light's really only going to be able to hit like the top surface of it, and everything else is going to be in shadow. But when you're looking at a water from far away or like in your photos, what you'll notice is that the sun or the light source hits it perfectly enough sometimes you'll see it hits perfectly enough in order to create that kind of really white value. Most of the time, obviously, water's not actually bright. It's this darker shadow value because that's where the light doesn't hit it. See, it doesn't hit it. Ah! This is pretty dark. Squint your eyes and you'll see that it's basically the same value as the shrubbery around it. And the only exception where the whole thing would be light is if you have like this super clear glass of water where light can hit through every single little speckle of water, and the only shadows you're going to get is wherever the water is kind of twisting its form. So around the edge right here, just a little bit. Over here where it's splashing on top of each other and you're having overlap layers, then you're going to get a lot of shadows. But over here, nothing is really overlapping very obviously, so that's why you don't have any of that darker value. But in this case, it's very fantastical, and what we're imagining is that we have this light source that's the moon is casting straight down here, creating this glowing effect. And down here, we're starting to go darker, right? And obviously, I would even go as far as to say we might even go. You could totally make this reflection even darker. It's just personal preference for Greta if she wants to make it darker or not. And then let's just go back to the bounce light, finish it off. Just a little bit over here. How's the DTIYS? I've been so busy I haven't even checked. I think I've only gotten a couple of submissions that I've already kind of showcased on my story here and there. but it figures because I haven't been promoting it that much. But I loved your submission, Greta. Very solid. I loved it. And then I think I saw a couple more really cool ones that I showed on my story. Ayo, Jesse, can't wait to see it then. Maybe that will be next month's critique. I would be totally happy to critique it, because you know what they say, OCs are like dear to the creator's heart, so I can destroy you if it doesn't turn out well. I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, it's not really that weird. I mean, I did consider at one point, like, I would take all the DTIYS submissions and make it into a critique video, like a quick one that I made like way back then. But then I remembered I'm like way too busy right now, so that will have to be for another time. Okay, so just some subtle bounce light. It's not like crazy obvious from far away, but you can tell it makes a slight difference. It kind of gives it a little bit more form to the rocks that you're kind of painting. Okay, that's that. Reflection. Okay, let's go back to the characters real quick and finish it off there. Colors, we are going to go just a little bit darker. That way when we do like the whole bounce light from the water, it will show through. I don't know, I'm forcing you to do so much saturation, Greta, which is like your Achilles heel. You hate it. But you also love it, so I don't know. Color is hard, so I do not blame you at all. We're gonna make this whole cloak darker, that way you can get some of that bounce light. Oops, that's too much bounce light. Oop, oop, my bad. And let's talk about Cape Madness. I'll hide this. And so what you want to imagine for fabrics is the direction that the fabric is going to fold. For capes, you want to have long elongating lines instead of really straight ones. So a lot of S shapes, a lot of L shapes, C shapes. For this instance, this cape, she's sitting right here. You want to be careful with the shoulders here too, Greta. She's looking this way, that means her shoulder should be the opposite direction, following this angle of her face. Follows the angle of her face. I know it's hard. What you want to remember is like you want to try to keep the the angle of like the eye to line up with the angle of the shoulders. It's when you're like trying to look in the same direction. Otherwise, it's going to look like two different angles. So you're going to look like this way, which doesn't make too much sense. Or it's going to look like this way, more like this way, which also again doesn't make too much sense. So if it helps, you can draw that center line, and that way everything will stay aligned while you're drawing it. And then it'll get a little bit of tucking behind the breast in this angle. So I'll probably change the color of this line work so you can see it better. Sure. Let's see, what's a color that would really show through here? Okay, that might be better. Can you see that better? Okay, so you'll see that once we kind of line up the shoulders and follow the midline of the chest, I like to draw this nice little cylindrical rib cage first. Make sure it kind of fits most of the space of the body. Okay, so your arm should be able to attach to it, your arm should be able to attach to it. Then you can bring out the breast, the tatas, and as a result of the breast sticking out, you're going to hide this arm over here. It's not going to show up as much as it's bending. Only time it would show up is if you're pushing your arm forward basically almost 90 degrees, or maybe, yeah, almost 90 degrees. You don't like boobs. They're balloons on the rib cage, Jesse. You gotta learn them. How else are you gonna draw sexy, sassy elf girls? Okay, so raindrop shapes on top of the rib cage always. Or to simplify it, to make it easier for you, you could just do triangle shapes first, like 1950s bus. 1950s bust, so those are like very simplified silhouettes, but it will give you kind of a better handle on how to approach the whole idea of boobs. I know, you're basically depriving them of their charm. Okay, you can put the hand right about here, hand right about here, or you can bring it lower if you don't want to cover the face. Let's bring it lower. I don't want to cover the face. Somewhere right here. Okay, so when it comes to the leg direction, again, it has to kind of follow the hip. The hip's gonna follow the shoulders. Shoop. And real life people, when they're sitting like cross-legged like this, what you'll notice is that one leg is going to tend to stick out more this way, and then the other leg is going to stick out this way, just because it's comfortable to sit like that instead of trying to put both legs like stuck together. You tend to kind of offset them a little bit, so the leg that's on top is going to sit on top of where the other foot is. And so we're going to try to replicate that here. And I admit I'm also not great at these types of complex poses, so we will try our best with stick first, and then we will move on to building the forms out of them. How they sit in the animes, they are lying to you. They are lying to you. They want you to believe that we all sit like that. We're perfect sitters. So I am creating our cylinder shapes, or the weird chicken oval shapes first, following where I have my knees. I make sure I extend the center line, because that way you'll know whether or not your legs are in the right space. Then let's make our knees bigger, and we'll draw our first leg. over here. Oval shape for where they end. Actually, maybe we'll do less of that angle. Okay, maybe something like that would be the pose. This is like super rough, in no way perfectly accurate. And let's clean up the lines a little bit so we can see what we're working with. Shoop, shoop. This is your time to double check what's overlapping. So take a look at when you're sitting side leg like this, what part is overlapping. The knees overlapping on top of that leg right here. Okay, maybe something like this. Not perfect. If you really want it perfect, like, it's going to take a lot of practice and observation of how actual people sit, and you'll need some references. But for our purposes, since it's going to get covered up by clothes, it's going to work for us, okay? Alright, so something like that. Let's zoom out, make sure everything doesn't look too weird. Shoop, 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 shoop. Yeah, Yuto Sano has a hell of time to practice all those angles and stuff, so I'm sure he also uses references, so I'm sure he's got one of those like wooden mannequins on his table, but I think he does have a lot of observational studies, so he's very good at like doing complex poses. There are just some people who really know how to do their craft, okay? Okay, and I'm just gonna get rid of that weird 1950s bust. We're gonna make it into real life bobos. Alright, let's go back to our whole thing about capes. So this would probably be the pose. You'll want to work on this a little bit, Greta, okay? For the cape, it's going to sit pretty loose on her body because... Oof. Oof. Homie really, really said, I'm gonna sacrifice my life for god tier art. Okay, so the cape, how does it sit? We're gonna draw the loosest clothes, baggiest shit you'll ever seen. So nothing's going to really stick onto the arm except where it's kind of being held down by gravity. So here, sloping down, gravity ain't give a shit, okay? It's gonna take over control. Over here though, it's not gonna stick to the arm because again, gravity is gonna take over control. Now when the arm starts to bend, you're kind of fighting against gravity, so the clothes is going to start touching the arm again. I actually don't know what the clothes looks like. Okay, less baggy than I thought. Same idea, just make it a little less baggy, a little closer to the arm. As for the back of the cape, you want to kind of exaggerate how smooth the lines are, so we're going to make it look like it's draping backwards, like you're kind of dragging it a little bit, like a train on a wedding dress or prom dress or whatever. This right here is going to follow the shape of the body a little bit. Because it is baggy, it's going to follow the shape of the breast. But it's going to hang down afterwards because there's nothing kind of tightening it against the body. So the cloth is going to do whatever the hell it wants. And I'm just adding a couple of folds here and there wherever you have any bends happening in the fabric, or wherever the fabric kind of gets pushed up against another feature on the body. And then you can just finish off with the end of the jacket. Nice little S shape. Don't do it too dramatic because the cape isn't like crazy big. If it is very big, there's a lot of fabric hanging around, then you'll definitely get a little bit more of that S shape going like this, flowing everywhere, and you'll get a lot more of these folds. But for something simple like this, you probably won't get that many folds. Maybe we'll have this kind of jacket draped backwards, and so you'll get a little bit of a fold here, a little bit of a fold where the armpit area is, and then it's going to fall down to the floor. And you can just have a little bit of a drape fold right here as it kind of gets pushed up by the thigh. And you'll get shadow right here because this is where that fold happens. Very subtle shadows happening here. You're really not going to see anything. Okay, so you might get something like that. Duplicate. And I'm going to erase away for stuff that's inside the jacket so you can see what the hell we're working with. And again, you got a little bit more of a believable loose kind of jacket. It's by no means like super detailed or anything, but it will work to communicate this idea that this is a very big draping jacket. And let me just throw in some hair real quick. So, shoop. I don't know, something like that. And that way you get a little bit more of a dramatic silhouette compared to this. This right here is so close, so tight. Feels like you're too afraid to go outside the boundaries. So let's boop that baby out. As for the hands, I know, we're gonna hate the hands. You're gonna hate me. It's going to have to end up being at this weird angle because it's there's no reason why the hand would be this way, holding her, when you have a more comfortable position this way. Hands are hard, I know. Boo me, boo me. No, you gotta learn it. Okay, draw your sausage hands. This is gonna help make the painting look a lot more interesting. When you have hands and angles, it makes it look very believable. So just draw the palm part of the hand first, and then you can draw nice little oval shapes following the bend of whatever it's on. And then you just clean up the shape a little bit. I mean, it's far away. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but I have to see some kind of hand action going. So what essentially this hand is doing, this is the palm area. 2, 3, 4, your fingers, they're going to poke out towards us a little bit. And you can just kind of cheat a little bit to make it more dynamic by having some of those fingers kind of create gaps, some closer together, some farther apart. That way, sort of like how Disney hands are, if you remember my tutorial, looks more interesting. Same for this one. I don't know what exactly it's doing just yet because we don't have this other character on there. This other character, oof. Okay. Let's figure out where are the shoulders and the torso. So the torso I'm assuming is right here, hips right here. Head can be sleeping somewhere here. So the ear somewhere here. Then we can start putting things together. This is your other shoulder. So it's gonna bring the arm down. From here, we're gonna try to fix this as best as we can. The leg, we need to give it a little more space so we have 2 legs can fit under here. And again, think about what's going to overlap. Probably this top leg is going to be on either the front part or the back part, you decide. I just prefer the front so you get that nice diagonal going on. Alright, let's hide this baby for a second. Oh, bless up. Okay, I did this all on a different layer. Alright, especially even if, you know, they're not fully well developed, you're still gonna get this nice S-shaped curve because that is just how the hip kind of dips in, even if you don't have larger hips. And this calf's gonna sit in front of the thigh because this whole part of the leg is, you know, the front part of the leg, right? When you're kicking your knees, it's going to overlap in front. So we don't want to draw it like this. This doesn't make sense. That would suggest that the leg, you're looking at it from behind. This suggests you're looking at it from front. Let's turn it over a little bit. Okay, and then you can have the body kind of twist towards the hands so it looks like they're sleeping. So shoot. And if you notice, when you do sleep on your side, this part of the shoulder kind of gets pushed towards your body because there's just no space for you to put it, right? It's not going to go into the bed. That's not transparent, so it has to push forward. So you're going to see that there's a little bit of a foreshortening of the shoulder here. And you get the collarbone kind of pushed up a little bit. Super messy hands, but I don't care. Just put them in for now. Then your other hands, you can have it over here underneath. Alright, now let's readjust a little bit of some of the angles because she is lying on top of her. So we gotta push up her ribs and increase the size of her upper body because it's looking so small compared to her legs. And as a kid, most of the features on the body is pretty much proportional. I think the legs aren't crazy much longer than the body itself. We do have to make the head slightly bigger because kids have huge heads. Got a huge ego. And then let's shrink the whole size of the body so they look like a kid. Alright, in that case, let's clean up your lines just a little bit, and I think that should be the pose. Wow, I didn't know I could have promotion. Let's ban you. Go away. How do I go away? Block. Yes. I don't need your promotion. I'm doing okay. Jesse, be careful. I might ban you for that if I don't look closely. Okay. This is basically the pose. In general, we'll just fix up the coloring here a little bit. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Put some clothes on that baby. I think they are wearing a dress. How long is the dress though? Basically the size. Okay. If that's the case, let's start off with the easy stuff. So the end of the dress is going to follow the shape of how it's lying on top of the leg. So curve for the legs, and then dips down to create an S shape. Now as it hits the floor, it's again gonna hit that kind of S shape because it's kind of pooling, nothing's really letting it lie flat. Same for here. And I believe this dress isn't that big, so we're gonna go like this. We're gonna have it pull a little bit over here, straight down over the butt. Did I get hacked? Jesse, did you get hacked? Okay, let's erase our lines. Choop. And then you'll get to see just how this dress is supposed to look. Okay, something like that. Okay, let me hide one more thing. Let's hide those legs. And you should be able to see the pose really clearly now. Okay, so that's just how the pose might look like. I'm not going to do any details over here. Let's just clean up the colors a little bit so you can see it better. Shoop, shoop. Shoop, shoop. just gonna make the skin a little bit darker so it looks like shadow. Hand here, I don't know, some kind of hand. Okay, something like this. So that's how you would fix the pose a little bit. And you can just keep going, add some more lights here and there, make everything shine more. I would probably even add some more light on the characters themselves. Ah. Is that bright enough? I don't think so. Something like that. Yeah, I would not use this color maybe, but I'm just trying to show you how you would add back some light. Yeah, maybe let's make it a blue light so it shows better. Okay, so that's just the approximate of how you would change it before, after. Feels a little bit more dynamic. You got a little bit more storytelling to go. Okay, Greta, so I will save this as your PSD and then we'll get going to Jesse's because you've been here for a while. Yeehaw! Let us make this look like an intimate couch scene. So I know this is a cool pose, but typically if you want to convey like a sort of sense of intimacy, you want the characters to be interacting, touching a little bit more. It's your turn, Jesse! Yes, so let me separate the characters from the background first so we can move them around and play around with what we've got. Because I know if I were to ask you to redo the whole thing, you would want to kill me, so let's try to work with what we've got. That's not touchy-feely enough for me. We could do better, Jesse. I know you can do better. Don't give me the excuse that you are just trying to keep it simple. We can do it. Challenge yourself. Even if they are, you know, playing around with just like the feet touching, there are a lot of ways to make this a little bit more dynamically interesting to look at than just have it straightforward like this. Okay, separate. Is that everything separated? Let's see. The hand's still there. Have stockings or not? I guess you could have stockings. It does make it look a little bit more interesting than say if you just have her bare legs. Scandale. Okay, let's cut that bitch out and cover these up. Oops. The couch should cover that up. That's a cool couch. It is a cool couch. Though we are going to talk about composition and how to spice up this couch so it's an awesome couch, not just a cool couch. Okay, that's covered up. All right, so first of all, everything's too center, too perfect. There's like a nice little border around the couch. So we gotta get rid of it. So we are going to move everything down either this way or we move it upwards this way and you can have a little TV table. Let's see, which one would make it easier for you? Everything's too big. Okay, I'll keep it this size. I will just rotate things a little bit. I know, you were like, what the hell is she doing? I'm trying to make this couch at a slight angle. Because I'm trying to change it up so we don't have such a perfect border around. Let's bring it down a little bit. And then I'll increase the size a little bit. Would that help? Navigator, navigator. No, I'll just keep it this way and then we'll do something. We'll just bring it down a little bit. Scratch that. I changed my mind. We're gonna do this whole TV, Netflix, and chill shit. You're gonna love it. Okay, so coffee table first. And that already will help you fill up this empty ass space up front and add a little bit more interest. Okay, some random ass coffee table. I'm not gonna worry about the colors just yet because there's a lot I have to say about the colors here, but one thing at a time. Don't want to overwhelm you. And let's fill this space up with, I don't know, some shelves next to it or something, like a table or something. Because obviously this whole living arrangement is definitely not what you would want in your own home. Unless you're living the whole minimalist, broke life minimalist. Okay, maybe a shelf over here. I don't know, some weird shelf. With like video games or some shit. Or what would elves put in their home? is my question. Some voodoo shit. You could have, I don't know, like a skull in here or something. Let me just do a little bit of shadow. First apartment, college dorm vibe. Yeah, basically. Have nothing in your living room. Okay, so fill that up. I'm sure you could come up with some great ideas, Jesse. You could even put a little kitty cat on there or something, I don't know. Shoop shoop. I know this is the worst cat you've ever seen, but whatever. Okay, something like that. Then let's work on the overall composition of the characters and how to make them look a little bit more enticing. So right here, he is pointing too much away from her, and she could be a little bit more intertwined with him a little bit more. So we're just gonna shift that leg more this way. So it could be as if she's, you know, underneath, trying to get everything around her near him. And I'm also going to move his legs more face towards her to give subtle body language. I don't know if this is going to work. Howdy, what you miss? You missed how Jesse said he wants to draw big old boob bubbles, but he doesn't want to put in the work to do it. Okay, forgive the spaghetti legs for a second. I'm just trying to warp this to work into the perspective I want, so I don't have to paint the whole leg again. I know it's garbage, but whatever. Okay, so if we're moving the leg over, you're gonna see more of the side of the leg and less of that knee. And I'm also gonna make his leg more substantial because the feet are existing, Jesse. They do exist. And then we can move everything over this way too. And again, feet. Where's my triangle? See how the feet now grounds him down? And then I'm going to give more space this way so he looks like he is leaning towards her. And you need the Dorito, just a little bit more Dorito going on in order for the smexiness to come through. And at this angle, this part of the bottom half of your body is more showing towards us. So we need that curve to go up instead of down. Because if you can imagine it, when you're slouching, you know what time it is. It's portrait studio time. I will make the angle for you, and I will also include it in today's upload for the critique, so you have a reference and you can't blame it on anything else, okay? It's morning indeed. Morning, 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 Miss Sue. You are bright and early here to learn, to get learnt. Okay, so ignoring his ass, we're gonna move this around. Ah! So let's slouch him down, pointing this way, right? He's leaning. Get his legs up. Get his legs up. Boop. The cheeks. Okay, gotta do the man spread. The most comfortable pose that every man will sit in. And then let's bring the arm down so he is slouching. And of course, Portrait Studio is not super accurate about everything, but we'll take what we can get. It's better than nothing. Okay, so here's your triceps. Turn it backwards a little bit more. Shoop. And then I'm also going to slouch his spine a little bit more so he can actually look like he is slacking off. Because if you think about how you're slouching, is your spine ever really that perfectly straight? It's not. I just want to delete this. Get out of here! It's perfectly straight, so you are the first person in the world when you are relaxing on the couch, you sit perfectly straight. Each lumbar spine is right on stack on each other. Okay. Good on you, your chiropractor loves you. While the rest of the world is out here, we do not sit perfectly straight. We got ourselves the comfortable position, so we are trying to sit as lazily as possible, as incorrect as possible. We got that weird humpback spine. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Turn this baby over. I can man spread him more. I can man spread him more. Okay, and then when you are kind of sitting at this weird, super relaxed man spread, the legs are obviously going to turn inwards. Okay, it is still not slouched enough in my opinion, but we'll take what we can get. Okay, so in general, you're gonna see dips to create this V shape right here. Yours is very much not lined up. Like the hip is jutting out over here for some reason. It should be tucked in, hiding a little bit more. Okay, so let me save this as your favorite. Okay, and then I'm going to screenshot that. I believe I should have it. New wallpaper. I'm still waiting for his book to be shipped out, so when that does come, I will be so happy, and I'll be ranting all over my page about that. Yes, it's Sam Ying. Sam does art. His art book was promised to us in June, and now it is delayed, unfortunately. So he has given out a whole bunch of wallpapers for us. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Let's go. As compensation. I think this was like a piece he made that was originally vertical size, and he extended the canvas. Shoop. I mean, it was time for me to change from my Loish wallpaper. I was getting tired of it, even though it's so beautiful still, but gotta spice it up here and there. Okay, so let's fix this bitch up. I'm just gonna make the hand a big blob right now, so we are not stressing. We're cool cucumbers. And the way you make things look more slouched is you try to make this angle as clean as possible. Don't give me bumps or lumps. Ooh, spicy, spicy. Arcane really knows how to get us. I would have bought more art books, but each one of those are so expensive because it's in pounds. So it's like basically 50 bucks, and I'm not made of money, unfortunately. Bye bye, Greta. It's just gonna be Jessie and Misu trolling the whole page here. Okay, let's bring up that thigh, tuck in. Okay, and then we fixed it. See how he's now looking more properly slouched over? And you'll also see this part of the body sticks out towards us, okay? When you're slouching, the whole body slouches towards us instead of being perfectly straight downwards. And in that case, let's have the arm hide behind the couch a little bit. Give you less to do, Jessie. I'm trying to help you out here. And I mean, if you think about when you're like putting your arm over the couch, are you really gonna always put it over like this? No, sometimes you're just gonna be like, ah, yes. The feeling of hanging my arm over the couch feels very good today. So let's do that for you. Let's bring back the girl and la la la. We're gonna bring her like a little bit closer. So a little more touchy touch. Let's move some things around. Shoot. She can be... let's see, I know you wanted, what's it? Her tip of her toe to be touching him like this. But I feel like that's just too far. I'll bring it in closer this way. Her feet can be anywhere. Yes, but I also want to keep it so you're comfortable drawing it, Jessie. I know you're not particularly looking for super schmexy here, so we're gonna keep it somewhat PG here. Hello, sexy. Okay, well, if you really want sexy, dude, you're gonna have to like put her foot basically next basically next to his forbidden zone. Oh, you're gonna have to reference all those smut artists. Can't post any of this. Okay, we'll have her foot underneath him right here. And then let us, again, tilt her back so she's leaning back sexily. And I would, instead of doing her arm just like him, we'll bring back the armpit hair in a second. You can have her arm doing this whole like sexy touch on the couch. Not hella sexy. I will help you here, sir. I know saggy boobs are a thing, but if you really want to make her sexy smexy, even saggy boobs can have their charm. Okay? Okay, so she could be doing this whole ooh la la, come here, Mr. Sexy, with her hand. I know that her hand looks really disgusting right now, but I promise it'll look better. Okay, first things first, when it comes to femelles, the body is very much all curves. So this whole straight thing ain't gonna cut it. We're gonna have to make her bump out that bootylicious and make it an S shape. So this sticks out, dips in, sticks out again. And then again, some curves here, curves. This thigh right here, holy moly, it's so freaking far away. Okay. Do you see how there's this random S shape going on over here? So the leg should never have an actual S shape here because you don't have a second joint inside the femur. So we are going to have to somehow bring this leg back closer to each other. So let's see, how do I manipulate it? I'm gonna turn her body. So now her leg no longer has that weird S shape. And then we are going to sit her up just a little bit more. Okay, and then we hide part of the lingerie here just cause her thigh is in front of everything basically at this angle. And you can just show a little bit of the thong here. We need to make her thighs big and juicy if she has a big juicy-licious butt, right? And then we're not going to see that part of the thigh. It's going to be hidden. Let's see how to make this. The Juicylicious. Yeah, so like don't let those BBLs confuse you, because reality, sir, is that if you have a big ass, you have big legs. There's just no other way to explain it. It doesn't work if you have the tiniest legs, like chicken legs, and then the juiciest butt. It's just gonna look really weird. So like, if you give me legs like this, it doesn't make sense, right? It just looks super fake, and it's obvious that you got work done because it can't support it. Like, there's no fucking way your gluteus maximus right here is supported by this hamstring. So we gotta get our big chicken legs. See, a little bit more believable, even with the thick ass. I'm on the wrong layer. Okay. Then let us find the middle line. So, whoop. The middle of the body is over here, so your belly button's gotta scoot over. It wouldn't be my stream if it didn't happen, Jesse. You know it. Okay, and then because everything is more in the middle here, we gotta show more of the sides. And this is where you have an opportunity to flex that juicy side boob. Not enough people appreciate the side boob. It is a very sexy feature that can help you get away with having to draw actual boobage. Okay, so here's how you're gonna draw your boobs. Find the middle line. We're gonna find our rib cage. So here's your shoulders, right? Your rib cage should follow that curve of that spine. Then you're gonna draw the boobs coming out. Now, I don't know how big you want the boobs. We're gonna go maybe a C cup. And we're creating smiley faces. So boobs are basically water balloons. on top of the rib cage. So if you have like really perky boobs, then you're gonna end up with very... If you have perky boobs, the tip of the nipple are going to be pointing more towards upwards. Still follow that ankle, okay? Still gonna be, it's gonna be a little bit more towards the middle. If you have saggy boobs, obviously the nipples are gonna point more downwards and you'll get more of this under boobage kind of work going on. If you've got even larger boobs, like let's say you've got those anime hentai GG cups, at what level do they start to sag? I feel like it's really depending on the age of the woman, how large the breasts are, and just like the general natural shape of the breast. So if you have like, say, like those humongo anime titties, right? If it's real life, let's be honest, without bra support, they are most likely going to end up sagging like this, because it's hella hard for boobs this natural to stand up on its own. There's no nipple, so Twitch can't ban me. It's just water balloons. The only way, we're going to hide everything right now, okay? We're gonna hide everything right now so you can see what we're talking about. If I'm gonna move this, we're gonna move this over here so our conversation can have proper space. Okay, so this is like, ooh la la, anime whoo. With bras, then you can get that really juicy cleavage going on. But oftentimes real life boobs, let's be honest, this is way too big for natural human to have. But if we're talking about, say, I feel like the max, usually, I'm not in no particular talking about this from experience, because obviously I belong to the itty bitty titty committee, so, but just from general observation, I feel like typically maybe size C is like the limit before it starts to sag. Then you could have just nice natural boobs that sag just a little bit. You could have it a little bit sagging about this much, and it still looks sexy. It's not crazy, but when you wear the right proper bra, you can still get that nice, ooh, that nice cleavage, right? The whole Bridgerton effect. Okay, so mini tit stream. Where is... cut. Okay, so for your particular case, Elf Girl, we're just gonna make her, let's say, medium size, like, I don't know, CD cups. So if you want, you can make it more perky, but that would mean you're reducing the size of under boob, and you're gonna create a triangle shape instead. Up to you. But let me find her again. And so let's give her those boobs. Don't worry about shadows just yet. So this is that weird upper cloth thingy that's she's got going on. Excuse me. Let's also make her head bigger, because Jessie, you are criminally limiting her. She's got the smallest face ever. What can she do with that face? Nothing. Looking at her. She's more than a pretty face. She's more than just boobs. She's got a name, Jessie. Okay, so then this bralette thingy is going to follow the shape of her boob, okay? So it's gonna stick out. And if we're doing side boobage, that means maybe we don't have as much of the top part of the breast. I'm gonna hide her hair just a little bit right now. I don't want you to get confused. Fixing her arm is so skinny. I fucked up there. Okay. Anyway, let's do the under boob part. So if this is like the actual loincloth thing, it's not going to show her breast right here. It's just gonna overlap it. Now, if you want to make it less granny-like or less like demure, less innocent, we're gonna make it into lingerie bras, okay? I know. You're gonna hate me for this, but you kind of need to learn how to do boobs. And bras are the jumping stones to boobs. So let us draw out her sexy lingerie bra. I don't know. All right, where is it? And in the case of push-up bras, obviously we're not going to get this slanted anymore. We're going to push it up. I'm going to hide the background for a second so you can really see what I'm drawing and working with here. I'm also going to bring up the lingerie because it's typically very common for thongs to have the hips higher up, so it kind of accentuates the natural dip in the hip. And so we're going to take an example from those and draw our character with that same kind of underwear. And let's give her some pushed up boobs. And in order for it to not look like bathing suits, you need the band. Okay, so if anyone saw you watching this stream, Jessie, they'd be questioning you so hard right now. They're like, what the fuck are you? Why the fuck are we talking about bras and stuff? Don't worry, it's all educational purposes. Okay, so we got ourselves a set of bras. Time to actually draw the boobs itself. And remember, where's the light source coming from? We're deciding it's coming from the top right here, so everything down here gets a nice little sexy shadow. I'm gonna make this part darker so shadow on the boobs can show up. Shoop, shoop. Let's go as dark as the stockings. Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, let's do boobs. So, where's the light source? From the top down. So, I'm gonna erase away this side of the breast because this is the side that's going to catch that light. Other side, not so much. And again, as we imagine like a water balloon, this bottom part of the balloon gets shadow, right? And if you really want to show that push up bra effect, you just add just a tiny insy bits of shadow right there. Now this side of the boob is not going to have as much shadow, but of course it's still going to have that shadow because the sphere, there's a shadow following around this part of the sphere, right? And we can just lighten it up a little bit with that highlight color so we can really feel it being lit. And I typically like to accentuate that shape by just adding a little bit more highlight here. And voila, you got yourself some bubbles. And let's finish up the bra. Bras are very structured fabrics or clothing, so it has a very distinct shadow. So this part where the apex of the breast is, it gets that shadow shape. And then any other shadow that happens because of the breast, we can add that in there real quick. And we may not think about it, but this part of the chest is actually connected to the breast. So when you're drawing the armpit area, you have to make sure this muscle right here connects to the breast. And unless you're trying to make it look like armpit hair, which there's nothing wrong with, you don't want to have too much texture going on in the armpit area. And let's add back that shadow to make this leg nice and juicy, because it's overlapping the tummy. Same for this part of the leg, it's overlapping this other part, so shoop, let's make it a little bit darker. And make your elf girl super sexy. Shade your leg like a cylinder, Jessie. This part is the center of that leg that we're deciding is going to catch all that light. Alright, let's add back the background. And then I'm going to talk about color real quick, and then we will call it for you. So for color wise, it's not a good idea to have everything so bright. We're going to decide that this background is going to get darker, and I'm also going to push it closer to your purples and blues, so that way it makes more sense. Makes more sense for the whole picture. If I want, okay, so if we want the couch to be purple to be in full focus, I'm going to make everything else a little bit less cold color. We're going to make it more yellows and oranges. I'm remembering your pinks, bringing back some of that pink. Bring that down. I would even make it that dark. And reduce the saturation of it a little bit. Okay, I didn't want it so green because it doesn't make sense. And then you can bring back some of those like greenish colors in a form of like a pattern, or I don't know, putting some kind of texture. Some weird shit, I don't know. And then in turn, let's set our color, our values. Like, where's our lighting source coming from? I'm gonna decide maybe there's like a TV, I don't know, in front. It's up to you what color you want to decide to make that. Yeah. Why is that not selecting things I want? How very annoying. Oh, fuck it, I don't care. And then for your couch, the shadows, we're gonna keep cool, and then for the light, we're gonna go just a little bit warmer. We're gonna make this more of that. Just a little bit. Maybe something like that. You can go darker. Something like that. And then you have, like, I don't know, a TV over here, and that's what's setting the whole lighting situation. Oof. I'm gonna change the color of that light. I do not like it. I may do something like this. Something like that. And then for your characters, of course, we're gonna have to reflect them back in that lighting. Let me see. This isn't by no means like the actual color that you should use, but I just want to give you like the general color vibe that you should go for. And then maybe actually we'll go a little bit warmer. So just basically don't keep the grays. We're gonna have to make the colors a little bit more vibrant so everything looks more interesting for us to look at. You can totally decide what type of lighting you're gonna do, and you decide that based on what color is the TV light going to be. Is it gonna be warm? If it's going to be warm, that means every color in front of that TV's gotta be that warmer color, and then every shadow is going to be cold, and vice versa, okay? I also feel like they're not dark enough. Oops. Okay, and then you can bring back some light. this is like garbage lighting situation, but giving you the idea, giving you the idea. Maybe something like that. That looks a whole lot better. And then, I don't know, you could put weird fairy lights. I would probably keep them in like green colors, blue cyan colors, here and there. Help you spice things up. Okay, so that's the general vibe for the image. I didn't push the character poses too hard for you, so you could definitely accomplish this by next month. But if I were really to make you do this, I would have probably had her, you know, intertwine her legs with him more, whatever. But before, after, a lot more interesting to look at. Yeesh. I will send this to you later, and let's finish off with Misu's. Okay, so if I recall, this is a great throwback to when we first started our critiques. I remember our first one was this one, which you can definitely tell like you've improved a lot on your anatomy, Misu. You used to have very childlike features, and now you're actually seeing the feature proportions for what they are, even though we do still need to work a little bit more on our shading, but that's what here today is for. Okay, I definitely do think you are a lot more comfortable drawing from imagination than just copying from a picture, so that's something good. Hells to the yeah, and you recognized that the colors you used in the initial were way too muddy, so that is another good thing that you are messing with. But I'm gonna merge everything there. Yeah, you probably couldn't figure out what you wanted to do. Okay, I will hide the hair for a second so we can fix up this muddiness in the skin. So this muddiness is because we are choosing very grayish colors when you want to kind of keep it a little bit more warm. So do you see how this color is basically just a lower value of that original color that you're choosing? When you are doing this, what you want to do is you want to also warm up the color for the shadows. Yeah, glazed from grayscale. That's what's gonna happen when you do just grayscale. I do know that there are artists that do very muted colors, but they do have a very strong accent color that they add into their picture also. So we have to be careful not to do just muddy colors. So for this case, I would say we're gonna avoid using too much gray for instance, because the light already is this grayish color, so you need something else that's not so gray in order for everything to look balanced. So instead of this color, I would suggest we go closer to that reddish orange, and we're gonna raise our saturation. Okay, so raise the saturation just a little bit. and increase the value so it doesn't have to be so bright. So you originally had it really green, we're gonna just make it a little bit more orangey color. Don't go too high in saturation or it's gonna end up looking like this and your picture, your lighting's not like that crazy bright. And already you can see it's looking a lot more bright, right? Obviously a lot of the shadows are now gone, but we'll come back to that in a second. So where are our major shadows? This right here, underneath the eye socket, this part of the nose, this part of the cheek, this side of the face is in shadow, right? And although this right here looks like it is a line, it's actually a very subtle value change. So when you are shading it, be careful not to go too crazy with the heavy line work, or else she can end up looking a lot older than she actually is. Let's clean up the highlights a little bit, make it nice and smooth. Bring back in this shadow. Every time I go darker, I like to go even warmer, just because the light is so cold, so bluish. The shadow needs to be warm enough to balance it out. We can go even darker. And you'll see I'm not going too crazy over here just yet. You want to keep your crazy saturations for stuff that's high in super dark value like this. The skin can keep into moderate grayscale. Okay, so we got to make sure this reads dark enough, so we're going to darken this up a little bit. You can keep this kind of coolish side of the nose, because you see how the bounce light is this coolish bluish color. In your case, you're making it a coolish greenish color, which is totally fine if you want. We're gonna flatten this part of the image first so you don't stress about it. Shrink in the chin just a little bit, make it a little bit more angular, less pointy. And then let's make sure all our lips are that even color. And we go darker, because this side of the face is in shadow, correct? Except for the bottom lips. Okay. And while the lips are like a pinkish color, you don't want to just do pink. Since the skin is like this orangey color, you might actually want to consider pushing it closer to that orangey color. That way the skin, like the lips, look like it's part of the skin. So lip color is just a slightly more pinkish version of your skin color. If you go too pink, then it just looks like you're wearing makeup. And in this case, I don't believe you're trying to make Makima look like she's wearing makeup. Let's bring this whole nose in that same shadow value. And another thing that you'll want to pay attention to is, as an artist, you want to simplify. So even though you may see like a whole bunch of details, you want to try to get the most concise information as you can for a painting before jumping into all those details. That way, even when you do add those details, it's not going to detract from like the overall sense of the picture. So round out that eyeball, be careful about that. lighten up the eyebrows just a little bit. When they're super dark, it looks like Sharpie eyebrows, and that era has been gone and dead for a good almost 5 years. Get that shit out of here, Misu. So I'm going to flatten out some of your shading because you're going too crazy with your shading just a little bit. And that's why it's making her look old. Because again, you're adding too many of these small details without thinking about the general values. We're gonna make her eyes a little bit bigger so it fits her face. It's just way too small right now. And you know what they say about bigger eyes, it makes the characters look a lot cuter. And Makima's a sexy motherfucker, so can't give me such small eyes. When it comes to the inside of the eye, don't use black. You would prefer to use more of this reddish shadow color. That way it doesn't kind of flatten out everything so crazy. Too much pointed upwards? Yeah, yours is a little more pointed upwards, but I mean, if you want to keep it like that, if you just don't want to make it look so pointed, you can just reduce the pointed. You can bring it down a little bit like this. So just make the tip less pointy. Because if you do it like this, that's a botched up nose job. But if you just do it like a slight tip like that, that's fine. That's like, it does exist naturally. So it's not like everyone's gonna think, oh, you got a nose job. It just means that with the bigger nose, you gotta have a bigger nostril to make sense. And if you can imagine her eye from this angle, I know it's hard. It's actually a sphere that pops out of the eye like this, with the inner corner there, so you can have just like this nice little reddish. And then the eyelashes come out this way. Extends out more this way. As for the iris, let's see. Makima has orange irises. They should follow the shape of the eyeball, regardless of which direction it is. Okay, so sphere, sphere forward, circle, sphere sideways. You turn it to the side. As you turn more to the side, it turns more into the oval shape, okay? But still, circle, oval. This makes her look more forward. I know, but we gotta force ourselves to do harder perspectives because you can't just limit yourself to just drawing straightforward portraits. That gets boring sometimes. Maybe that's why we practice using reference photos. That way, you know, if you do make a mistake, you know where you're going wrong. And if you want to turn the eyeball over more this way, just give a little sliver, but we're still following the shape of the eyeball, right? And then if you're going further down, she's looking downwards. hits more of that sphere. Okay, but maybe you want to make her look a little bit higher up. We'll keep it there. And for these shadows, these are not going to be gray. Do you see how it's not actually this color? It's more of that reddish color. It's a cooler color. So for your case, let's make it more of that redder color so it doesn't look like a botched up mascara job and it looks more like shadow on the eyes. And now let's actually add back, you know, the structure of the face. A lot of it has been, you know, deleted by my soft brushing. So this right here, the eye socket right here, you can extend that shadow a little bit, and then we're gonna carve out that shape by adding a little highlight right here. And we're gonna go cooler and slightly higher up. Now if you want, you can make it more of that yellowish greenish color if you wanted. Try not to go too high in value because it's a very subtle value change. Squint your eyes and you'll see that it's very similar to the shadow color still, it's just slightly lighter. See how that kind of brings out the shape of the eyes a little bit? And I just personally like to make the under eyes redder. That's a stylistic choice. You definitely do not have to do that. It's not that much redder. But it's similar to how, like, in anime they make the under eye redder for the shits and giggles. And you'll notice right here, the lip is a round object, so underneath the lip right here, it's going to be much darker than, say, up top. So we're gonna go darker and slightly cooler, using a nice fluffy round brush. You're gonna darken up the underneath, so the lip looks like a round structure. Typically, I just like to darken up that corner just a little bit and increase the saturation between the lips, because against this bounce light idea, your lip itself is red, right? Cast back onto itself is going to make it extra red. The hair in her lip. This reference is one of the harder ones because all the lighting is so subtle that if you are not a master of your edge work, so your hard edges and your soft edges and your values, it can get very, very confusing for a beginner to kind of create a face out of it. Because you see all these subtle lighting situations going on right here. As a beginner, you're more likely inclined to kind of exaggerate those light sources, when in reality, if you squint your eyes, this is basically one single value. Where's the reference picture? Let's duplicate it, and I'm going to show you if we exaggerate our contrast. Do you see how it's very much almost flat? Like this light and this dark, it's almost basically the same. Right? Almost basically the same, just super slight difference. Yeah, so like you'll see, this is definitely dark, right? This right here, all single light value, which if you're just practicing, it might work to do it something like that. So you'll learn to kind of simplify what you're seeing. And then later on, when you're a little bit more comfortable with like simplifying whatever you're seeing with your eyes, you can go ahead and get rid of it and just do it as is. Oh my god, her eyebrows. Misu, you're killing her. Okay, let me give her those shadows back in her eyes. So contrary to what you believe, squint your eyes if you're having trouble figuring out where the lights and darks need to go. That way you're not getting distracted by all the subtle details, like this lighting, and instead you can focus on, oh, this is where the light needs to go, this is where it doesn't need to go, etc, etc. And if her hair is red, it's kind of a big teller if her eyebrows aren't somewhat red too. So let's give her eyebrows red color. Be careful about the harsh shadows underneath her jaw. They're not actually that harsh. They're very soft shadows. And we're gonna warm this up more, because this is underneath her face, right? Her jaw has blood vessels, the skin has blood vessels, so whatever shadows cast back onto the skin, it should be warmer. See how it's warmer here? It's because the jaw is a warm object. And then let's make sure that we go brighter, and I'm gonna go more yellow. So if we're actually sticking close to this reference, Misu, all these colors here will need to go more towards your pinks. Like this. Do you see how the colors now are very similar to the original picture? But if you want to do more of a yellowy tone, very sepia color palette, then obviously we can keep it this way and we'll work with there. So it's up to you. I feel like based on the hair color, we may opt to stay with this sepia tone because it's such a warm value. It doesn't make sense for this to be warm and the skin to be cold. So make good use of your lasso tools in order to really very subtly add highlights to the face. Right here, her lip catches a lot of light over here, so we're gonna lighten it up, but making sure this part has that soft transitional edge. And then I bring back the shadow on her nose, again choosing the color, and we're going warmer, slightly darker, and using a soft brush very slowly. Keep this edge fuzzy, go darker. just a little bit. You don't want to go too dark or else all of a sudden she has like super harsh wrinkles. Let's get rid of that hair in her nose. It makes her nose look weird. And then Akya needs that highlight so her eyes look like it's glowing. From far away, you're really not going to see the lines, but it's just for your own personal satisfaction if you want to add the lines in there. And we're going to make sure we warm up that shadow also. Sha 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 sha. What the hell is... That's why. Ichigo. Such a troll. And for this right here, you notice all that lighter value. You're just gonna very lightly brush it in right there. And for the shadow on her face, it's a very subtle shadow because over here there's still a lot of light. Honestly, you remove the hair, it can become anybody you want. I also didn't do the irises on the same layer, so this could become, I don't know, Hinata from Naruto if you wanted to. I'm just gonna bring the jaw down a little bit because it was so high up. She looked like she had a recessed jaw, so you need to still have that kind of angularity. I know not every single person has that super angular jaw, but it looks weird for a side profile if it's too round. Clean up her hair for you a little bit. Now, what is this ear though? I know we can do better with ears. If you are ever struggling with an ear, you only need to capture a few main features on the ear in order for it to look like an ear. So first let's reset the ear. Add back the warmth of the tips of the ear. So right here it's very warm. You weren't done, but even if you weren't done, there are some major structures of the ear you can place down so it looks done even if you're not done. So let's warm up the ear first. Up here needs to be warmer. Then this back shadow right here, this back shadow needs to exist before anything else, before you do anything. Okay, Misu? And already we got the main structure of the ear. Then we're gonna do the whole of the ear. We're gonna go boop. Decide how you want to draw the ear. Maybe the ear has like a smaller hole. and then very lightly, darker in here. And it somewhat already looks like an ear, right? You didn't work that hard. So honestly, an ear should not take you that long. Simple shapes. Doesn't have to be like crazy complicated like some of the mangas that you see. They like go so much focus into the ear. Add a little shadow down here to create that 3D shape, and voila, you got yourself an ear. That wasn't too hard, right, Misu? Just 3 simple shadows, and it'll look like an ear from far away. And let's just finish off with the chin highlight. And then I think we'll be set for the face. This part is super important. And then everything else can kind of be finagled with a highlight or like the light bloom to make it look popped out. Right, just a little bit of it, and ooh, spicy. So now you know what to do with the ear. Get the back shadow, the middle shadow, and then everything else kind of falls into place. It doesn't have to look like this. You could do an ear. It can be just like this. I mean, honestly, that will still sort of look like an ear. As long as you have this shape and that shape, okay? As for your hair, don't forget your lights and darks. We're gonna make everything up front here lighter because it's in the light. Everything in the back can suffer eternal hell. And especially for braids, I know braids are hard, but we have main structure. We have these weird teardrop shapes. That are going to be here no matter what angle you're looking at the braids. And I didn't even actually shade the braids, but they still look like braids, right? So you need that heart shape. All right, let's throw everything over here into shadow. Everything on the right's shadow. And the thing with braids is it's basically overlaps of this shape, and then what you're gonna do, the way I learned how to draw braids, is this way, and then you just shoop, shoop, shoop. And everything kind of rounds out on the edges, and you got yourself some braids. Now for the lazy assholes like me, I go curve, and then I just tuck the other one on the next one to call it a braid. It's like a very messy braid, but it still looks somewhat like a braid. So for your braid, let's figure out where to put those tucks. And then make everything else just follow that 3D shape. I'm just getting lazy, that's why I'm not making her braid that long. But if you want to take the time to make her braid longer, go ahead, do that. Okay, so that's how you would do the braids instead. Essentially, I think everything was structurally wise not too bad. Just a lot of the shading was too muddy and you focused too much on like the tiny little details when you could really just simplify a lot of the stuff and not worry too much about it. Only thing you anatomically wise had issues with is still the eyes, which you're gonna have to practice a little bit more with your clamshells. I think that may behoove you in the future so you can understand how the eye wraps around, especially when you add the iris on there. Because the eye itself without the iris, it's pretty easy to draw. You don't have to think about anything, but once you add the iris, the shape gets a little bit more warped and it can look really dumb if you don't draw it correctly. Okay, so I still think compared to this, major improvements. Okay, so that will be all for today's crit stream. Good job for hanging in there, everyone. I'm so glad we had more people show up this month around instead of just me and Greta. But it was very, very chill when it was just me and Greta, but it's more fun with everyone around here. So I will be uploading your PSDs into the Discord a little bit later today, and I'll also upload the VOD. If you have any questions for me once I've uploaded the PSD, just let me know in there. But otherwise, I will work on the tutorial editing wise, and I will release a video maybe early next week. I like try to do a couple more examples for the tutorial because I just felt like it was a little short, and Bounceit is in no way like an easy topic, so try to do a little more examples here, example here, and our Juicilicious sphere, our favorite shape of all. You're mostly busy on Fridays. Very sad face, but I'm not going to stream on weekends because that's like weekend, everyone wants to just chill. But we'll see. Anyway, that is all. I will see you guys next month. Hopefully we have some more juicy stuff from you guys, or maybe you can just upload like the revised version of whatever I critiqued today. Jesse, I hope to see my DTIYS in the critique for next month, okay? Alright, bye bye everybody, have a great weekend. I will see you next month. Bye bye.